Alright, welcome back everybody to another review. So I am joined by
Logan Wilson.
And today we are going to be talking about the movie that he just rewatched and I saw for the first time, Uncharted. So, we're going to try and mix the good and the bad in this case. Not because this movie was bad by any means, because it's definitely not. But just so, there's not an insane amount to talk about with this film.
Right.
But
yeah, overall it's pretty simple plot-wise.
Yeah.
But I think it was perfect that way.
Yeah.
Not too much going on, not a super complex movie. Just a good time.
Yeah. I will say one thing is, because I have played Uncharted 4. I forgot the subtitle. A Thief's End.
That's it.
I did play that game. That game is incredible. But I will say, this movie is probably better if you aren't a die-hard Uncharted fan.
Right.
I will say. Now, for being an Uncharted movie, that's I will admit, that's a detriment against it. But
Sure. Because it's in no way canon to the games.
no, definitely not. Because this mixes aspects from each of the games.
Right.
Like, the cargo scene is from the third game.
Yes, that is from the
And
third
the whole
game,
thing
yeah.
with the ships... Actually, you know what? I will go ahead and say this now. Spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Because this movie just came out.
True.
So, but the whole thing with the ships and the brother and the post-credit scene in the jail is straight from the fourth game.
I haven't played all of the fourth game, so I don't know.
I played through the entire fourth game. And
I'm going to.
Woo! So, just talking about some things. I will say this. One thing that I was very skeptical on going into this film was the casting of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. Or at least that's one thing. So we'll go and talk about him.
For sure.
Because, I mean, Tom Holland is a great actor. I'm not saying he was a bad acting choice.
Oh, absolutely. His acting, in terms of just acting purely, was great.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's a great actor.
When I first saw him, I was iffy on the casting.
Right.
Because Nathan Drake is a character who's supposed to be somebody who's around like his 30s or 40s.
In his mid-30s.
Which they really show like in his voice and how he acts more so in the fourth game. Here, Tom Holland himself is 25, but he looks 19.
He does look very young. And that's something I kind of laughed at a little bit when I first watched the movie was you get the jump cut from the flashback at the very beginning to present day with Tom Holland.
And it's supposed to be a 15-year
It's supposed to be a 15-year gap, and honestly, from the kid that they have playing Nathan Drake,
it's like
it looks like maybe a 7-year difference top. So it's kind of funny. We're just gonna say Nathan Drake ages gracefully.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. But taking that aside, because the point of this is that he's supposed to be younger,
right?
Which is sort of the point. But when you take that into account, the character himself and Tom's acting, pretty darn good.
Solid, yeah.
It's pretty darn good.
Tom Holland's a good actor, so there's no doubt there.
Nathan Drake it was a really good story, like because you still have that family bond with his brother, which they really capture pretty well.
They did that very well, yeah.
And you just really feel the emotion and the chemistry he has with the other actors. And jump into another character that has a similar issue with the aging thing is Mark Wahlberg as Sully.
Right. How old is Sully in the game?
Sully in games, he's supposed to be around like 60, 70, at least by the fourth game.
Right.
And Mark Wahlberg feels like in terms of how he looks, feels like he fit the Nathan Drake profile better.
He looks like he's 30. He is like 50, I believe. 50-something.
So that's where I think they're good in the time, in the fact that they're younger, because the age gap between Sully and Nathan is pretty darn spot on to the games, because that's about the gap there is between the actual characters.
So in that way, it does feel like a prequel, but it's in no way a canon prequel.
No, it's not in the slightest.
At all.
I mean, just going to, but again, Mark Wahlberg as Sully was pretty good.
He does a good job.
You got to see some really good development for his character, where he's very greedy, sort of going against what he said at the beginning, but at the end he chooses to give up the goal to save Nate.
Yeah. I thought that was really nice.
That was a great moment.
And I'm biased. I like Mark Wahlberg a lot. So
Mark Wahlberg's pretty great.
I like Mark Wahlberg. He's cool.
Going through some of the characters, Chloe.
Yeah, Chloe.
Who is a character I don't think I have interacted with yet in the games. But I looked her up and I saw her face and I was like, oh, okay, I recognize her. Because it was from what I remember, she might have been in the fourth game and I just don't remember because it's been a little bit, not too long. but she's in like this expansion for Uncharted 4 where you play as Chloe and another character you meet in the fourth one. But I liked her.
I like the character.
The chemistry she had with Tom was
really good chemistry, despite them almost being like a, kind of like not a nemesis sort of situation, but they were constantly like, she was constantly betraying him the whole time, and yet still beyond that, they had like a really, really good dynamic, and there was honestly some romantic chemistry there that I think.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was a bit surprised that wasn't the case, but then I remembered who the character was and who Nathan eventually falls for. I'm just like, the character that Nathan falls for might be a character they bring into the second movie.
Because it's definitely set up to have a sequel.
It's set up to have a sequel, and I feel like this movie will probably make a good amount of money, and I hope there's a sequel.
It released at a good time. I mean, there's not much competition right now. Like,
actively
right now, there's not much competition.
Yeah, because Spider-Man's checking out right now.
Spider-Man is gone. Yeah, it's about to get out of here.
So it came out at a good time because you got the Batman coming up. So.
Right. Yeah. That's a good thing they released it a little before that, because that would have made some tough competition with that.
Yeah, that definitely would have. Especially with, Right. So, just a couple other ones. The typical main antagonist.
Right. I don't know who you would say the main antagonist was. That was a question.
The final antagonist.
Right. Would have been what's
her name?
The one chick. I don't know. She had a funny name.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. But while we're just talking about her, I didn't mind her.
No, I thought she was a solid villain.
She had
a villain.
Yeah, well, she was an antagonist. Because I feel like she had a pretty fun. She had her fun moments because she definitely had history with Sully, and the fact that she's the one that ended up killing Sam. So I thought that part was interesting. Again, we can't remember her name not because she wasn't memorable, just that we legitimately can't remember her character.
She had an interesting name. It was Joe Braddock. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's it.
Joe Braddock.
Yeah,
they called her Braddock.
Yeah, that's what it was. Who we thought was going to be the main antagonist, I was surprised because
it's Santiago
played by Antonio
Banderas' character.
From the small bits that we saw him in this movie, he was pretty intimidating. He just ended up dying.
Right.
Very unexpected scene. I did not expect him to die that quickly.
Yeah, I didn't really expect that either, but at the same time I kind of did. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was kind of the thing with this movie, is it's not very complex plot-wise. A lot of stuff felt expected.
Yeah.
But that's not that big of a deal.
But I mean, with something like this, it kind of makes sense. Really aren't any other major characters. I mean, aside from Sam, but he's only in the flashback scene, and the post-credit scene where it's shown that he's still alive.
Right.
And you have the second post-credit scene setting up for the sequel. Right. But just talking about some of the scenes in this film, the cargo ship scene,
a lot of it felt like stuff that would like be in the game.
That cargo scene was in the third one.
And just the way it was shot felt like it was ripped straight from a video game.
Yeah.
The scene where they're hanging on to one of those cargo boxes falling, and he's reaching for like the cord to pull the parachute.
You could picture that as like a QuickTime event.
A QuickTime event. That's what I was going to say. That looked just like a QuickTime event from an Uncharted game, and I thought that was so cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
The entire final part of the movie as well, with the
ships on the helicopters.
Ships, that was so cool. But yeah, that entire thing with the ships felt very, very interesting, to say the least.
That was the one part of the movie, my first time going through, I was like, dang, that's pretty over the top. And I get it, it's based on a video game, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the most realistic of things, but man, those are some pretty sturdy ships for being like super freaking old. Those things were like taking a beating and just like somehow surviving, but
at least a majority of it was. And then
they finally
the fact that when the ship finally goes down, like it stays up for a bit and then it sinks after falling on Joe Braddock's face, I was like, what a way to go.
She went out like very Indiana Jones villain-esque, I thought, like very dramatic.
A lot of comparisons can be made for just Uncharted and Indiana Jones.
Right, and
that's for sure.
And it felt like watching an Indiana Jones movie to me, I thought, which I loved personally.
Yeah. All throughout this movie, the fact that it's like this mystery of just like this puzzle, which really fits for what Uncharted is. Like, they're going to all these different locations. There's always different clues all throughout. And it just was so cool just to see the characters' dynamics with all that.
Yeah, the whole thing was like, the entire movie was just, like one big puzzle that they put together, which was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. The end credit scene said something about Nathan Drake's interest in a Nazi map, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah.
So that could be a pretty neat...
That'll be interesting.
neat plot for a sequel.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because, the most of this movie is just, like, them solving the clues and pretty much like a race to the treasure.
Right,
Which is interesting to say, like, Hunter's pulling into Taco John's.
He is.
Or is he pulling around to say hi to us?
I think he's pulling around to say hi.
But yeah, the whole clue thing was definitely interesting, to say the least.
No, he's getting Taco John's.
Okay, he is getting Taco John's. That's where we came from.
It feels like a pretty common plot in a lot of movies that are that similar thing. The whole race to the treasure thing, like that was the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah,
essentially,
and because that was how all the Uncharted games were,
and a lot of the Uncharted games had that kind of plot.
Yeah,
I know the first one definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I played all of.
The fourth one definitely did as well. Also, one other thing me and Logan completely forgot to talk about that I went nuts over is the fact that in this movie, Nolan North, the voice of Nathan Drake himself, makes a cameo. I completely forgot about that because I know my older cousin Zach told me about this. Sorry, my contact's screwing up. But I remember seeing him and I was like, I was looking back at Logan, my jaw was open. I'm just like, that's so cool. Granted, Nolan North is known for voicing a bunch of other people. He's most known for voicing Deadpool. He's voiced Iron Man in the Avengers game. It's funny because the Nolan North voiced Iron Man in the Avengers game and voiced Nathan Drake, and Troy Baker voices Sam in the fourth game, his brother, and Hulk in the Avengers game. So those two actors have quite a bit of experience together. But yeah, it was awesome seeing Nolan North in this movie as a cameo. Which, it's funny because they poke it fun at him pretty much being Nathan Drake. So it's like, oh, we got dropped over a plane. Huh, something like that happened to me once. Love that. Anyways, back to the review. So in terms of how we would rate this movie.
Yeah, do you want to go first?
This is quite...
It's a tough one. I definitely... I naturally, as a movie enjoyer, want to kind of give it a lower ranking because it's not very complex in terms of plot, but I really enjoyed it. So I think for that, I'm going to give it like an 8 out of 10.
You know what? I was going to give it that. I was going to agree with that. I think I'm also going to have to give this an 8 out of 10. And that's only on first watch. I'm definitely going to rewatch this. But because, again, even though I played the fourth one, like, I'm not as much of a die-hard Uncharted, like, fan. So I can understand how die-hard Uncharted fans will disagree with that and probably give it lower ratings, which is understandable. But even just looking at it on its own, I still think this is still, in my opinion, I think it's still pretty faithful to the Uncharted franchise.
Right.
It's fun to watch. It has fun characters. It portrays the younger version of these characters pretty well. Like, I did not expect to enjoy Tom Holland as Nathan Drake as much as I did.
Yeah.
I knew I would probably enjoy Tom Holland's performance, but I was like, is he going to be a good fit for Nathan? But as a younger Nathan Drake...
Right, I think he does great.
He does really well.
And I think it does stay faithful to the games. I mean, the movie is really over the top, which is those games. Exactly. Those games are really over the top.
Like, the whole thing fighting on the ships where they're fighting with the pirate swords. It's like the final battle in the fourth game is fighting somebody in a burning ship with pirate swords. Yeah. I'm just like, it's so ridiculous, but it's so awesome.
It is very over the top. I mean, there's multiple times in that movie where I'm thinking to myself, how are you alive right now, Nathan Drake? You just, like, fell out of a plane onto a cargo box. How are you living? But again, there was multiple times when I played those games. It's like, how am I alive right now?
Yeah, exactly.
After all the crap I just did, how am I living? So it is kind of faithful to the games in that way.
And I think one other thing that really helps, at least helped me watch this movie, is that at the time of recording, what did we just watch before this?
That'll be up before this review. So
this will definitely be up.
Filmed on the same day.
We watched and filmed. We watched Last Jedi earlier and filmed the review. So let me tell you, I needed something like this after going through that again. So again, I have no idea when this is coming out. But for all I know, this might be up after Rise of Skywalker.
Right. I think that was the plan, was to get this up after all the Star Wars stuff is done.
Yeah.
But you got to ask yourself, Christian, do you think Do you think coming back to watch this again, you'll give it a worse review? Because
I don't
this
think
movie
I will.
is like...
I don't think I will, if only because of the fact that even just taking out the fact that I just watched my actual
Your
least
least favorite
favorite...
movie.
Because I just rewatched my least favorite movie of all time. Even just thinking back on it, I don't think I'll end up changing my ratings because I had a lot of fun all throughout this movie, and I don't see myself changing my rating. If you are a diehard Uncharted fan, this might not be a good movie for you to watch because most of the negative reviews are from diehard Uncharted fans, so I don't know if you're going to enjoy this movie as much. But, like, if you're, like...
At the same time, I say still check it out. I mean, go in with an open mind. Don't expect anything to be canon to the games, which is what I told myself. I told myself that I was like, this is not going to be, like, entirely canon to the games, probably. And I was okay with that. I enjoyed it. So yeah,
that's how I was, because... Again, I'm not as much a diehard because, again, I've only played the fourth one.
I guess
I told myself when we were walking in the theater, I was like, I'm just going to go in, blank slate, and just enjoy what I'm watching. And even comparing it to the Uncharted franchise, it feels like it feels like it would be an Uncharted sort of thing.
Like it feels like it could be a game.
Yep. So that's going to have to do it for our Uncharted review. Not a lot to talk about, but again, it's pretty simple, but enjoyable. So, because probably by this point, Rise of Skywalker might be out, but either it will be out or it'll be about to come out, depending on when I put this up, because it's a shorter review, it'll be easy to edit. But regardless, the next new movie that we're going to be reviewing is The Batman.
The Batman.
AKA the film I am most excited for this year.
I'm pretty excited for
There are going to be there's going to be a good chunk of people on that review. Because, I mean, Hunter might want to be in it.
Yeah, I think we're doing we're going to do like a whole bunch of people because I know we're going to take
We're going to have
We're trying to get a big group to go see that movie, and I'm assuming we'll do it right after.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
A bunch of us. Well, no, because some of the people we're going to want to see are going to be working Friday night.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll try and get a big chunk of us to go up and watch that movie probably that Friday.
Yeah, I think release Friday. Yeah.
Because I'm...
Release day.
Yep. Because I work the advance showing, so...
Yep. Tough.
That's going to be fun. But, yeah, so hope y'all enjoyed the Uncharted review. Stay tuned for The Batman. I'm so excited. We're almost a week away.
I know.
It's so close.
I know.
But first, we got to... At the time of this coin, we got to watch Rise of Skywalker.
Got to get through that.
Woo! The enthusiasm that he is not...
Yeah, I don't like that one at all.
Anyways, that's going to do it. Stay tuned for The Batman or whatever review comes up next. Later, Webheads.